Welcome to the Sabbath afternoon study. We have completed 8 extensive Bible studies that reveal the truth of the 144,000. Today we embark upon another completely new, that is never beforehand revealed Bible doctrine. The name of this study will be given after I give the tag of our new series. It is Series 50 and is entitled Covert CIA Evangelists. I deploy the acronym CIA outside of its familiar vernacular to represent the Lord's celestial intel agencia. Ergo CIA. Our new Bible light will show that there are agents of Christ, humans from earth, not the beings whom we have traditionally called angels, that will work under our administration to harvest the world. Today, November the 11th, 2023, our first study of the series is entitled Jupiter, the Heavenly Sign. To begin, we must first appreciate the enormity of the mission to save humanity from the clutches of hell. The 144,000, the soon-to-be ordained sons of America's former slaves, it has been proven already, will parlay their growth from their historic and extensive humiliation to a perch of exaltation so that they may evangelize the world. But the world population has swelled to nearly 8 billion. It is comprised of many nations, many varieties of natural tongues, diverse customs, anti-Christian governments, myriads of climates, from the freezing regions of the Arctic to the furnaces of the desert, to the bug-infested jungles, to the mountain range of isolations, etc. Math reveals that through it all, 144,000 evangelists will need to preach to more than 56,000 humans. For this, they need a CIA, a celestial intel agencia, one that has operatives who have intimate knowledge of every region of the earth. But you ask, why must salvation be so complicated? Why not simply close human history as prophesied by Seventh-day Adventists these past 180 years with the catastrophic destruction of all men who reject the aspects of the law that they choose to so emphasize? First, I know that it is counterintuitive to the question when I say that Adventist theology is the most advanced theology in world history. But Paul, the only apostle to the Gentiles, deemed it to have an expiration date. He called it partial prophecy on schedule to fail. And today is that day of her divine foreclosure, whereby strong meat suitable for spiritual adults has replaced it. Thus, if Jesus were to kill every human who rejected Adventism, he would need to begin his bludgeoning slaughter within the corridors of her very own ranks. Why? Because, as was the case with Israel yesterday, Seventh-day Adventists are the greatest enemies of God's strong meat, which he has pioneered exclusively within her very own ranks and within her doors. These past 42 years, Jesus has knocked at her door to deliver to them God's refreshing from the house of David. They responded to its Bible validation with extreme hostility. Resultingly, they have failed to sup with him. But there is a second reason why Jesus will not outright kill humanity. At his birth, the celestial intel agencia announced Jesus' 2,000-year mission to bring peace and goodwill to all nations. And I quote, "And the angel said unto them, Fear not, for behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord. And suddenly there was, you may have missed it, I said there was with the angel a multitude of heavenly hosts praising God and saying, Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace and goodwill toward men. Luke chapter 2, verses 10 through 14. So it turns out that God gave his only begotten because he indeed does love all the world. Some people, I don't know how, are tripped up on this point. There is no glory to the highest if he must destroy nearly 15 billion after creating man in his image. That would instead yield glory for Satan. It would prove his own contention to the unfallen universe that he, Lucifer, was right, that he and not Christ was the wiser choice to be God's power of attorney. This theme Satan would rouse to assert that Father and Christ are fools who have spent 6,000 years to reform man and, in the end, so as to save face, instead of listening and consulting with him, they instead decided to kill humanity. Would it not have been better to kill Adam and Eve in the first? Or better yet, to have never created man? Satan would argue. Thus, man's victory in the great controversy will come not as shown in killing, but in the original Adventist 1844 message, the harvest of the 144,000. This allows for world evangelism. But to defeat hell requires a master stroke, one hidden from our eyes. Hidden, that is, until the Bible revelations of the mustard seed. He, Christ, has expatriated at least one live person out of every nation and kindred and every tongue and people, and to boot, also from every generation of earth's 6,000-year history. He took them to his special place in heaven that they may panoramically view the unfolding of human history. And once fully converted in this hour, they were purposed to, in a few years, return and assist the 144,000 to evangelize the world. This was an unforeseen aspect of the vaunted harvest. This, we'll call them, Congressional Delegation, men and women who come from Earth's historic royal lineage and from divergent homelands are now in place. And despite language etymological changes over time, they can speak both English and their own original and historic tongues. How have they been converted? By the careful examination of the mustard seed's perfect doctrine. David describes their connection to his son's work. He recorded the following quote about these operatives. And I quote from Psalms 89. Thy faithfulness shalt thou establish in the very heavens. I have sworn unto David my servant. Thy seed will I establish forever, and build up thy throne to all generations. And the heavens shall praise thy wonders, O Lord. Thy faithfulness also in the congregation of the saints. Psalms 89, verses 2 through 5. Stunning it is to the acute of hearing. Someday in the future, David said that the heavens shall praise Christ. You may in turn ask, do not God's angels in heaven already praise him? Indeed they do. But this verse is referring to a congregation of saints from all generations, not just angelic beings. To succeed where Adventists have failed, they need to learn of Christ. Ergo, when the name of Christ is fully unfolded by the Son of David, then will Christ's handiwork be fully revealed. Thusly is Christ exalted in the congregation of the saints. Again it says, the heavens shall praise thy wonders, O Lord, in the congregation of the saints. According to Paul, we have a conundrum. This congregation cannot be construed to be on earth. He said that we are all disunited children who are tossed to and fro with every wind of doctrine. See Ephesians chapter 4. This congregation of David's depiction is in a special location in heaven. So this light has grown surreptitiously. And that fact has precluded carnally minded men from assessing the growth of this mustard seed message. The congregation of the saints who, with Christ's help, have fully absorbed this work and are harvested today incognito, only to be seen by our upward gaze. Marvelously, Father commissioned Christ to express as much in the gospel. Jesus said unto them, and I quote from John chapter 4, my meat is to do the will of him that sent me, and to finish his work. Say ye not, there are yet 4 months, and then cometh harvest. Behold, I say unto you, lift up your eyes and look on the fields, for they are white already to harvest. And he that reapeth receiveth wages, and gathereth fruit unto life eternal, that both he that soweth and he that reapeth may rejoice together. And herein is that saying true, one soweth and another reapeth. John chapter 4, verse 34 through 37. Christ here, while hidden upon and speaking through Jesus, said that not Father's, but his meat is to finish Father's work. It is the work of making man after his image and in his likeness. This adds credence to the E.G. White claim of 1890 that once the African Americans are harvested, they will take on the divine nature. To quote a snippet, she said, through the grace of God, those whom the enemy has oppressed for generations rise up to the dignity of God-given manhood and womanhood and present themselves as sons and daughters of the Most High. Why should not Seventh-day Adventists become true laborers together with God in seeking to save the souls of the colored race? Are we not called upon to do this very work? They have been wounded by a so-called Christian nation. They have been left by the wayside, and decided efforts will have to be made to counteract the wrong that has been done them. And when these souls are converted to the truth, they will become partakers of the divine nature and will go forth to rescue their fellow men. Ellen G. White, Southern Works, 1901, pages 26 through 29. They, as the 144,000, are to be the first fruits of the harvest. Fruits now with an enhanced element. To see it when having 4 months to go until the harvest, we are commanded by Christ to modify our historic doctrinal expectations. That is, after we have finished our education about the first fruits, we are to next proceed exactly as the mustard seed so now does, and recognize the congregation of the saints by looking up. Thus, immediately before the 144,000 are to emerge, another harvest is revealed to the true disciples by a sign in the heavens. It expresses to them the conversion of a different harvest field. To reread a snippet, it says, "Lift up your eyes and look on the fields, for they are white already to harvest. And he that reapeth gathereth fruit unto life eternal, that both he that soweth and he that reapeth may rejoice together. And herein is that saying true, one soweth and another reapeth." Since Christ defined himself in Matthew chapter 13 to be the sower, look it up, then the reaper must be another man, one bound to the earth. He, the reaper, then, could never be construed to be Jesus, nor Father, nor the Comforter. How could any honest student so misconstrue the command? It says, after the lookup, Christ, the sower, rejoices together with another person called the reaper. The reaper, therefore, could only be the son of David. The book oft mentioned in the past, number 5.2, also known as Seven Trumpet Luminescence, distributed in 2020, now visible on your screen, proves with much evidence that this congregation of the saints spoken of in Psalms 89 could only be those men and women whom Christ has expatriated from earth to temporarily abide with him. Just as the Garden of Eden and the tree of life was taken to his abode and therein transplanted, likewise was this group of humans through history also taken up. They were retransplanted as proven in 5.2 onto the red cloud of the planet Jupiter. See the picture now on your screen. Reciting again David's claim, "The heavens shall praise thy wonders, O Lord, thy faithfulness also in the congregation of the saints." Just to make sure, to the dull of hearing, I did not say that they abide on the planet Jupiter. My exact claim is that both they and the Garden of Eden dwell on her red cloud, which is an ambient sub-environmental culture of Jupiter, one that is twice the size of Earth. It has a different atmospheric dynamic than does the planet Jupiter itself. A selection of, certainly not all, but a selection of Earth's historic royalty has been placed in this theological university so that they may graduate today to fulfill an evangelization mission. This doctrine, though marvelously eccentric, must today be exposed as we approach Earth's harvest. The mustard seed, then, has a dual mission, one of which is to transform them into, as David put it, a congregation of saints, so that they may assist in the finishment of the gospel. Bible evidence beyond the limited scope of this study can be founded in the aforementioned book. It is free of charge upon asking. That is, I must put a qualifier, within the confines of our budget. But as outlandish as this original Bible doctrine may sound, we the faithful have heeded the command to redirect our upward gaze. Thus, our exuberance is not merely vested in the redemption of the 144,000. It is beforehand vested in the knowledge that extraterrestrial saints also cherish this new light. Accordingly, do we heed Father's command and look up. It is likewise remarkable that since the distribution of the book 5.2, Jupiter has been the most visible star, we'll call it, in the night sky. Before then, its furthermost orbital point was, see if you can put your arms around this number, 600 million miles away from Earth. a sight that was too faint to the eyes. But since then, it has been in the backswing of its elliptical orbit, making it 38% closer, or 370 million miles away. It shall be exquisitely and majestically visible and, to boot, higher in the night sky, not forever, but until November 23rd, 2023. Merely a few days from the publication of this YouTube. Just a little bit more science. Earth orbits the sun once per year. Jupiter orbits once per every 12 years. Since 2020, when it became close to Earth so that as the Earth made its annual orbit about the sun, Earth, the planet, returned back to this very close proximity as Jupiter more gradually advanced. Now it is slowly returning to its furthermost and faintest distance again. So these last 3 years have given the disciples doctrinal affirmation as they look and behold the brightest body in the night sky to see our sign that the fields are white already. Now you also can claim obedience to Father's express command. You too can gaze upward and behold the celestial sign and wonder, the place where the saints have congregated. Therefore, the day when the sower and the reaper shall rejoice together is now upon us. This commission to alter the gaze of our focus is proven from other scriptures. Isaiah 49 is a case in point. It also helps us to explain this theme. It more deeply expresses the reason why Zion, those who indeed have advanced beyond the Seventh-day Adventist Church, have true cause to now rejoice. It shows that until they expand their vision, until they look up, they will become susceptible to feeling abandoned by the Lord, a temptation to wallow in self-pity. You know that Zion was called to harvest 144,000. And since her church refused this commission, the hearts of the disciples, as Christ keenly reads them, are consumed with feelings of being forsaken. The haunting feelings of the failure in their calling is best described as their nakedness, or as saints of vain doctrines. They have no cloak to validate their spiritual isolation. Such can only come with new, heretofore never anticipated saints. Else, they would not be commanded to look up. Upon so doing, their vision is supplemented by a faith. Now it's time to read that text from Isaiah 49. Verse 13. Sing, O heavens, and be joyful, O earth. But Zion said, the Lord hath forsaken me, and my Lord hath forgotten me. Can a woman forget her suckling child? Yea, they may forget. Yet will I not forget thee. Lift up thine eyes round about, and behold, all these gather themselves together, and come to thee. As I live, saith the Lord, thou shalt surely clothe thee with them all. Then shalt thou say in thine heart, who hath begotten me these? Seeing I have lost my children, and am desolate, a captive and removing to and fro. And who hath brought up these? Behold, I was left alone. These, where had they been? Thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will lift up my hand to the Gentiles, and they shall bring thy sons in their arms, and thy daughters shall be carried upon their shoulders. And kings shall be thy nursing fathers, and their queens thy nursing mothers. They shall bow down to thee with their face toward the earth and lick up the dust of thy feet. And thou shalt know that I am the Lord, for they shall not be ashamed that wait for me. Isaiah chapter 49, 14, 15, 18, 21 through 23. Gentiles from heaven shall help. Heroes thought to have been long gone will bow to show their worshipful admiration. They, Gentiles who have been absent from earth, but not dead, will come to esteem us. In other words, to clothe us. And you should know how they shall be our nursing fathers and nursing mothers. This expression is abstract. They will be our wet nurses to rear the 144,000, our newly converted. Doctrines that these Gentiles have taken to heart. You do know that the heart is in the breast. Themes that have converted them from their historical overview as they watched from their extraterrestrial perch, Jupiter. They will allow us our entry into rest from the duty of evangelism as they teach our newly converted children. They achieve their milk by being careful students of the Son of David. In this way, we have the fruition of when Christ promised to make for David a collection of believers, that which he proverbially referred to as making him a house. Such has been Christ's work, his strenuous effort these past 6,000 years. Only thus could he fulfill Father's commission to make man after their image and likeness and to give to him dominion. And the return of the saints fulfills our Adamic commission to be fruitful and to replenish the earth. He promised as much to ancient David as we read in 2 Samuel chapter 7. Also the Lord telleth thee that he will make thee an house. Can you imagine that? The Lord putting on his tool belt, getting his saw, gone to Home Depot maybe, getting his drill bits. Also the Lord telleth thee that he will make thee an house. And when thy days be fulfilled, and thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, David, I will set up thy seed after thee, which shall proceed out of thy bowels, and I will establish his kingdom. He shall build an house for my name. So he also visits Home Depot as well, you see. He shall build a house for my name, maybe Lowe's too, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. 2 Samuel chapter 7, verses 11 through 13. Christ makes David a house, and the Son of David establishes the identity or name of Christ. In other words, he conveys the Lord's love and his righteousness, as well as his ordination as Father's power of attorney, etc. Such are aspects that even the angels did not fully discern until now. And Christ fulfills his promise to make David a house by congregating for him prospective saints, not just to teach the sons of America's former slaves, the first fruits. No, that's not their only mission. But as we delve deeper into this series, we'll see, but also to coordinate the work of the 144,000 in their global mission. This theme cannot be ignored. In fact, Moses gives to us even more evidence. He calls for heaven and earth to be his witness. You may recall reading the scriptures when after Sinai he foretold of Israel's rise and then their demise, and then their rise again. This, in final analysis, is the song of Moses and the Lamb as defined in former studies. Let me quote him. Deuteronomy chapter 31. Gather unto me all the elders of your tribes and your officers, that I may speak these words in their ears, and that I may call heaven and earth to record against them. For I know that after my death ye will utterly corrupt yourselves, and turn aside from the way which I have commanded you, and evil will befall you in the latter days. And Moses spake in the ears of all the congregation of Israel the words of this song until they were ended. Deuteronomy 31:29 and 30. A point now worthy of emphasis, and one that has always been ignored until the mustard seed advent, is that which is noted here in Deuteronomy 31. We presume that Moses spoke to all of Israel. He did not. His prophetic announcement was only conveyed to them through the elders of the tribes. Thus, only they were to shoulder the full impact of the prophecy. This then is money in the bank, and it will pay great interest and dividends when we advance to discuss the 24 elders. For now, his prophetic pronouncement is a reference to the day of the 144,000. We can know this for sure because Moses assembled them to hear their plight in the latter days. Let's try reading a snippet of it again. Gather unto me all the elders of your tribes, that I may speak, and call heaven and earth to record the evil that will befall you in the latter days. But Moses also commanded other men, not just of earth, but also of heaven to hear. And the mustard seed gospel now telescopes our formerly constricted antenna receiver to receive Moses' transmitted signal, that we may hone the acuity of our hearing. Achieving as much, we now can discern the full path of Israel from their destitution to their restitution. It is through this work heaven's CIA will secure their intel. Enoch was the first heavenly agent to be translated from earth to heaven. Thus, by the use of slang, we refer to the Congress of the celestial operatives as the Enochians. Therefore, we have harmony that now has been polished to exact precision. Jesus gave a definitive command for end-time disciples, and now both Moses and Isaiah and others give validity to his instructions. It applies to a special day today, when the end-time disciples who have focused on the study of the harvest must take a major doctrinal excursion. David spoke to this subject by use of a metaphor he called a gate. He, fully knowing that a gate allows entry to the property and that it symbolizes rulers, deemed that we now lift our spirits when he said, "Lift up your heads, O ye gates, and be ye lifted up, ye everlasting doors." Psalms 24, verse 7. This instruction is not only useful as a Christmas cantata, it has deeper meaning. It parallels those sentiments of the Lord to his end-time disciples. As the proverbial gates to the New Jerusalem, they must now comply. They must look up. And as seen from Isaiah 49, I remind you, in this special moment of the uplifted head, you must comply even though your flesh will tempt you to say, "The Lord hath forsaken me, and my Lord hath forgotten me." But your walk after the Spirit will encourage you and cause you to sing. He said, "Sing, O heavens, and be joyful, O earth." Your naked eye cannot see your new reality. No, not even by use of the most advanced telescopes. In spite of this, Christ's heaven-presiding Enochians will affirm your evangelical success. And once your spiritual eyes see them, then your advanced harvest theology can cheer your disparity. Such is the pinnacle of our walk by faith. Such is the walk of all who lift up their eyes round about. And behold, all these gather themselves together and come to thee. As I live, said the Lord, thou shalt surely clothe thee with them all. Kings shall be thy nursing fathers, and their queens thy nursing mothers. It is an intricate cooperation. The disciples begin it by paying their tithe to the storehouse. And this affords the luxury of the mustard seed to publish. Its work can then be relayed by Christ to another place, to his house. You know, he says, bring all the tithe into the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house. In other words, I supply meat for the Lord's house to in turn nourish his celestial intelligentsia, that they may teach the 144,000 as Christ's alien operatives. In this way has the Lord kept his word to build for David a household of energized world evangelists. So, although Zion, the Seventh-day Adventist Church, has squandered her place in kingdom rest, another group of Sabbath keepers, our Hebrew Israelite brethren, are given a narrow window to join us and become not just kingdom citizens, but gatekeepers of the kingdom. Their hesitancy appears to us as a stall in our progress. But Isaiah 49 promises us, Zion, that the Lord has not forsaken us. The Holy Spirit, by his new action plan, works to soften their hearts. And this struggle has placed us, the disciples, on what we defined in Zechariah 3, on standby. You recall, Paul gave this very appeal, and I can't help but think it was a reference specifically to them when he said, again, he limited a certain day, saying in David, today, after so long a time, if ye will hear his voice, harden not your hearts. For if Jesus had given them rest, then would he not afterward have spoken of another day? Let us labor, therefore, to enter into that rest, lest any man fall after the same example of unbelief. Hebrews chapter 4, verse 7 through 11. But not all of the Hebrew Israelites will avoid the fall by their unbelief. Only the faithful will rise to join us in kingdom empowerment and unity. Their mission is daunting. They must cast down masonry and the apostate doctrines of the Jewish Talmud. I did not say the Torah, but the Talmud. It is the doctrines of men, works which Jesus condemned when he said, but in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. Matthew chapter 15, verse 9. The Talmud is not included in the reference library of the righteous. Unlike the Torah, which is the work of Moses, the Talmud, I tell you, is the book from which Masonry extracted her 33 degrees of initiation, works which even advocate child molestation. This it does even in the face of fathers' strident warning against men who offend his little ones. Yes, indeed, Joshua must be compelled to change his filthy garments, just as expressed in our study of Zechariah chapter 3. Imagine the futility and ignorance that now engulfs our Hebrew brethren. Some are even hostile to saints whom Christ extols, the Good Samaritans, white men whom Jesus deployed to recover our own people from the shackles of slavery. But digressing no farther, more from the Bible to portray the truth of Christ's CIA operatives must be cited as I make reference to the book of Revelation. True, it is couched in symbolism. Even the very opening text, it reveals that none other than merely one singular ordained person, also known as David by Paul's exegesis, was intended to understand the book. It says, Revelation chapter 1, the very first verse, the revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him, and he sent and signified it by his angel unto the servant John. Blessed is he that readeth, and they that hear the words of this prophecy, and keep those things which are written therein, for the time is at hand. Revelation chapter 1, verses 1 and 3. How marvelous! God begins by the promise of a qualified blessing. It says that an individual, a singular man, shall read the book of Revelation so as to teach it to the disciples. It says, blessed is he that readeth. We have ignored this precept for nearly 2,000 years and have presumed the pronoun he to be a generic allusion of plurality. Revelation 22, the very last chapter of the Bible, closes with Jesus' curses and not blessings, not upon all, not upon the faithful, but upon men of such haphazard intellectual presumptions, men who dare to add or take away words of this prophecy. Ironically, the very next phrase manifests that to make the word he, plural, actually underscores one's very failure in reading skills. It shows a switch in subjects by referring to not a singular pronoun he, but a plurality of saints called they. The very same blessing promised to the singular reader accompanies a commensurate blessing to a plurality of hearers. It says, blessed is he that readeth, and they that hear. Obviously, the plurality of hearers learn from the singular reader. If God, being serious about his bestowal of blessings, did not intend that his word be thusly microanalyzed, he would have simply said, blessed are they that hear. Furthermore, to falter in this simple language arts lesson proves the Lord's indictment of the church, that they suffer from stupidity, or that which is politely referred to as humanity's dullness of hearing. This malady is not so with the upward-looking disciples, nor with the downward-gazing Enochians, saints who have been taught to live by every word which proceedeth out of the mouth of God. When Revelation is thusly studied, it becomes not a Halloween house of horrors, but a blessed book of mercy and salvation. Revelation 4 embellishes God's blessing when it says, after this I looked, and behold, a throne was set in heaven, and round about the throne were 24 seats. And upon the seats I saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in white raiment. And round about the throne were 4 beasts full of eyes before and behind. The first beast was like a lion, and the second beast like a calf, and the third beast had a face as a man, and the fourth beast was like a flying eagle. Oh, we could prolong the study a great bit by expounding further on these symbolisms. We're not going to do so, but I can give you a reference library. Continue with the read. And the fourth beast was like a flying eagle. And the four beasts had each of them 6 wings about him, and they were full of eyes within. And they rest not day and night, saying, Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, which was and is to come. These beasts are symbolic depictions of not angels, but Enochians, or transplanted saints. Each have 6 wings. Wings are symbols of time. And since man's probation ends after 6,000 years, then the beasts contained within their ranks are the transplanted saints from each generation of that time span. Thusly, as might add an addendum, are they full of eyes within. But be it not mistaken, these congregations are not identical of the same beings that we have traditionally called angels. You may recall the Lord's promise about David's son, David. He said, also, I will make him my firstborn higher than the kings of the earth. Psalms 89:27. I bet you thought he was referring to today's kings like King Charles of England, or King Philippe of Belgium, or King Eswatini of Swazi, Africa. To the contrary, Revelation is speaking of the Enochians, saints over whom David shall likewise preside. So, be it not confused, at least 2 classes of celestial beings are depicted as encircling God's throne. The formerly terrestrial beings and the non-human angels, the spirits whom we have traditionally called angels. They are separate and distinct. And chapter 5 of Revelation solidifies this key distinction. It speaks of Jesus, Christ, and it describes more than 100 million angels in addition. I say in addition to the beast and the elders. And the evidence is solid. The angels are not the same as the beast and the elders. To read it, it says, verse 6, and I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the 4 beasts, and in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb as it had been slain, and 4 beasts and 24 elders fell down before the Lamb. And they sung a new song, saying, Thou art worthy, for thou wast slain, and hast redeemed us to God by thy blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation, and hast made us unto our God kings and priests, and we shall reign on the earth. And I beheld and heard the voice of many angels round about the throne and the beast and the elders. And the number of them was 10,000 times 10,000 and thousands of thousands, saying with a loud voice, Worthy is the Lamb that was slain to receive power and riches and wisdom and strength and honor and glory and blessing. Revelation chapter 5, verse 6 through 12. In short synopsis, the Lamb was declared worthy for only one reason, because he, Jesus, was slain. And this new song is coded symbolism. A new song is not an old song. It is a newly revealed concept to cherish, a new theology to both the beasts and the elders and the angels. The old song of the Christian heart was that Jesus was God. But if he were God, if Jesus were indeed his own Father, then he would have always been worthy before and after Calvary. This we decode by full compliance to every word in Revelation. And in so doing, we exculpate ourselves from the plagues and from hell's flames, preserving our place in the kingdom as its gates. But there is another very key point worthy of notation. The angels make a totally different proclamation about Jesus' valor from that of the beast. The angels do not say that Jesus, by Jesus' death, they have been redeemed, freeing them from the penalty of death, so as to allow them to return to earth as kings and priests. I say the angels do not make that claim. Instead of making that same claim, the angels, by use of another citation of Jesus' moxie, celebrate Jesus' worthiness to rule as Melchizedek. Let us reread it. It affirms that the angels are not the same as the beast and elders. Again it says, and I beheld 4 beasts and 24 elders. And they sung a new song, saying, Thou art worthy, for thou wast slain and hast redeemed us to God by thy blood. And we shall reign on the earth. And I beheld and heard the voice of many angels round about the throne and the beast and the elders, saying with a loud voice, Worthy is the Lamb that was slain to receive power and riches and wisdom and strength and honor and glory and blessing. Revelation chapter 5, verses 6 through 12 again. Isaiah 49, cited above, confirms that the Enochians can rejoice by the prospect of reigning again on earth. So joyous in this are they, that is obscene to children that it may sound. Isaiah says, not Dear West, but Isaiah says that these kings and queens, as our nursing fathers and mothers, will be willing to lick the dust of our feet. A future study will express the aspects of this theme more clearly. For now, each one will be stationed in their own geographical homeland, and peace on earth will be facilitated because each king and queen will have learned harmonious brotherhood with other saints of other lands on earth and from distant generations of earth's history. Can you imagine an AD 19th century German lord having warm fellowship with not an AD but a BC 19th century Mozambican king? They being buddies with an AD 5th century Manchurian and a BC 500 Eskimoan. Can you envision an Arapahoan queen and a Maasai princess of Kenya learning each other's dance steps? Is it too far-fetched to fancy the Swiss and the Italian of Europe exchanging recipes with the Adivasi of India and the Cantonese of China? They will know each other as well as the people of their generation whom David shall resurrect. And when he does, so delightful will they be to embrace their long-lost friends and to also punish their enemies from their historic lands. They will be overwhelmed with, foot-licking gratitude. But there will be one other aspect of distinction, a duty for Christ, a part of his extensive work. Christ shall give rank and authority among the Enochians of each culture and within each boundary. Each nation will have a coronated king and a priest to rule over his own homies. like a president is to a state governor in America, that coronated Enochian will be cast as the highest prelate of his own territory, this under David's dominion or David's presidency. As Psalms 89 promised, and I cite again, also I will make him my firstborn higher than the kings of the earth. Psalms 89 verse 27. The reason for his distinction above his other countrymen from a different generation will be his scholarship, the acuity of his mustard seed theology. You wonder why the mustard seed can get kind of complicated. So under David's scrutiny, the A+ students will be coronated to rule their fellow countrymen. Their influence as alien operatives for Christ will then greatly facilitate the spread of the gospel by the 144,000. The issues here are too vast to cover in just one sitting. So as we look up and perk up for the Jupiterian lookup, we must now close the study and prayerfully anticipate the next study when even more on the Lord's covert CIA evangelist is revealed. And with that promise, we close the study.